Kirby Dach stays hot as he's continuing his breakout campaign for the Montreal Canadiens. I'll be talking about him, plus Arber Xhekaj, what he has been bringing to the team recently, and what he might happen to him when Mike Matheson comes back. Finally, I'm going to talk about Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault, and some stats that show that they're one of, if not the best goalie tandem in the NHL right now, so you won't want to miss this episode of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to this news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and before we get into the video, quick reminder that about 85% of you guys who are watching are not subscribed. Remember, we have daily content, so if you want to stay up to date on your Montreal Canadiens news, this is the place to do it. Let's get into our first topic today. Kirby Dach is breaking out, and we were a little surprised because after the first few games of the season, we saw Kirby Dach. We weren't really sure where he was going to be playing. We mixed him around, sometimes with Monahan, sometimes at center, sometimes on the wing. We really couldn't find a final spot for him until Coach Martin Saint-Louis put him up on the first line. And since then, Kirby has been playing out of his mind. Currently, so far this season, he has 12 points in 14 games, and that 12 points would be number one on the Chicago Blackhawks right now. If you don't know, we got Kirby Dach at the draft after trading away Alexander Romanov for some picks from the New York Islanders. We shipped those picks over to the Chicago Blackhawks for Kirby Dach. And, the Blackhawks gave up on him. He was a 21-year-old former third overall pick, and Montreal got him for a solid young player and some good picks, but who knew that he was going to play at this level? He was young. We knew the potential was there. He was so highly touted. He was supposed to be the guy for Canada at the World Juniors before suffering that horrific wrist injury, which, if you don't like gruesome things, don't search up what that looked like, but his wrist did not look good. But he's here now producing at an incredible level. He's had multiple points in his last few games. He fits in perfectly with Suzuki and Caulfield. We couldn't ask for anything more. As we mentioned in every video where we're talking about Kirby Dach, his smoothness on the ice, his physicality. I mean, his physicality was a bit of a surprise because in the preseason, even in the first game or two, it felt like he was getting kind of tossed around a bit on the boards. Maybe he didn't have a ton of weight. But recently, if you watch him, he's winning his board battles. He's being physical. He's using his big body. And he's being in the right place at the right time. Some of that comes with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield creating the space for him. But he still needs to find those spaces to get to and to capitalize. And he did that last night multiple times. One time on the JT Miller fanned pass, right to him. He was in the right spot, knocked it down, slotted a 5-hole on Demko. After Cole Caulfield fought up against Tyler Myers, the 6'8 giant on the boards, winning the puck, Suzuki feeds it right across for a Kirby Dach snipe far side. He has been insane so far, and I don't think it's crazy to say he can finish this season with somewhere around 60 points. I think that's very, very reasonable, especially if he continues at the pace that he has been going with this line in particular. Maybe even 70, who knows? But what I will say is that it sure seems like he's found his home with Montreal, and it seems like that trade ended up being quite a steal for the Habs. Topic number 2 today is Arber Xhekaj. Last night, Arber Xhekaj set his season high with 19 minutes and 19 seconds time on ice. For those of you Arber Xhekaj fans, just like myself, we loved to see it. The man is all over the ice. He's so physical. He makes a lot of smart defensive plays. His skating is improving game by game by game. The only issue with him right now is maybe his lack of discipline. He does get the occasional really bad penalty, which is not amazing. You don't really want your guys doing that too much. But at the same time, he's been so solid defensively and offensively. We've seen him get runs on the second power play, plus he scored another goal last night. He's firing these pucks hard from the point, and they're finding ways past goalies. He has 2 goals so far this season, most goals from any of our defensemen so far. I think he's been amazing. Now the question is obviously begged, like, what's going to happen when Mike Matheson comes back? Because he's getting closer and closer every day. We expect him back within the next few weeks, probably. Maybe a month, but somewhere within the next few weeks to a month, we expect to see Matheson back on the ice, and he's another left-handed defenseman. And if you've been looking at Montreal's lineups, usually one of Chris Weidman or Jonathan Kovacevic is scratched. And those are 2 right-handed defensemen. We're running Edmondson with Xhekaj primarily, both left-handed. We have Harris, usually with Weidman or Kovacevic, and then we have Gouli and Savard. So we have only 2 right-handed D right now, and Matheson's going to come back, so who gets scratched? I don't think it should be Xhekaj. I think just the impact he's brought to Montreal, yes, he's lacked some discipline. Maybe he will get scratched for a few games this season. I don't expect him to play in every single game. We're going to try out different lineups, and eventually he's going to hit a cold streak. But, what I think needs to happen is I think Arber Xhekaj needs to get given a shot. I don't care if it means Montreal needs to run with 5 defensemen for a little bit. I think Arber Xhekaj needs to get his chance to prove himself even further once Mike Matheson comes back. Do we keep him with Joel Edmondson and scratch both of Kovacevic and Wideman? Do we send Kovacevic down? I think that's probably the play right now. I haven't been very happy with Wideman's play either, but by all accounts, I'm pretty sure he's a solid veteran, decent locker room guy, so I'm really not sure, but what I do know is that I want to see Arber Xhekaj staying on the ice when Matheson comes back because he has truly earned it. Topic number 3 today. The Habs goalies are some of the best in the league, and that's a bit of a shock, right? Even saying these, even after watching Montreal so far this year, we're like, yeah, obviously Montreal's goalies have been solid, better than we expected, but some of the best in the league? Well, take a look at this. This was a post from, I believe, Lonely Boy, Lonely Guy on the hockey subreddit. It should still be up there if you want to go find it for yourself. Credit to him for doing this up and, well, doing up this chart at least and posting it to the hockey subreddit. But look at this. This graph, or this table, I should say, is sorted by goals saved above expected. And for those of you who may not know what that is, it's essentially some advanced stats that calculate the exact goals that are expected against your team based on how the other teams are playing against you and how many goals you've actually allowed. And if you look at number 8 and number 12, we have Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault, both 4.8 and higher goals saved above expected this season, which means that, if you had a regular replacement goalie, they'd be expected to do a lot worse. And these are the only teammates on this list. If you look, we got Lightning, Bruins, Leafs, Golden Knights, Avalanche, Coyotes, Islanders, Stars, Jets, and Flyers. And that's incredible. Both of our goalies are performing basically well above what they should be doing. I mean, we came into the season, Montembeault was solid last year in a pinch, but he's really, really improved this year. He's had multiple awesome games. Jake Allen, as always, has been stellar, rock solid in net. But for both of them to be top 12 in goals saved above expected, it's a telling advanced stat, and it's really telling to us as Habs fans too, because we know our defense has not been amazing, which, sort of goes into how many goals are expected to be scored against us. Since our defense hasn't been great, maybe it's higher, but these guys have been backstopping our team to wins. Right, we wouldn't have 7 wins if it wasn't for these guys in net. There's no chance. Jake Allen has robbed us a couple games, and, honestly, he probably should have 1 or 2 wins more in games that he played amazing, but Montreal ended up losing. Sam Montembeault has been great in net, and this stat here just shows to me that, if you have guys who buy in to Montreal's system, who truly, truly want to be there and want to fight for a spot, I mean, it's awesome. These guys were also recently signed. It's not even like they're at the end of a contract. These guys are just performing at the highest level when they need to for Montreal. And it's awesome to see because I didn't really have that high expectations for our goalies, especially with our weak decor. But man, they have been playing out of their minds, and I really, really love them for it. Final little piece of news, some ex-Habs news. Oh, I don't have it coming up there, whatever. The chapter didn't load, but it's about PK Subban. I'll put a timestamp in the description for this, but PK Subban has gotten a job at ESPN on a multi-year deal as a broadcaster and an analyst, and I feel really good because after he left Montreal, he had some good runs with Nashville, of course, a Stanley Cup final run, but he really was never the same. His production dropped off very fast after he left Montreal, and luckily we had Shea Weber as compensation. I remember when that trade happened, I was so sad because Subban was my favorite Hab. I'm sure he was a lot of your guys' favorite Hab when he was here, and but he just fell off a bit, went from Nashville to New Jersey, and he just never was the same guy. And we always saw him, impersonating Don Cherry, being on TV in the media. He was always such a kind heart, still donates to Montreal hospitals all the time. Such a great guy in the community, such a great voice for the sport. He's been amazing on TV so far, and inking this contract with ESPN, I think, is one of the best things that could happen. He's probably going to be their best analyst, if not their most fun. I mean, it's sad to see that his playing days are basically over at this point, but even if this is how his career ends, this is such a great next chapter for him, and I think it's very, very fitting, and I can't wait to see what he can produce in that studio. But that'll do it for this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe. We're aiming for 2,000 subs before Christmas, and we'd love if you guys could help us out with that. I've been Josh Gosse. We'll see you in the next video.